Have you ever felt like your pain made you unlovable? Like your story was too much, too messy, or too raw? At Love Again with Confidence, we see you. Inside our online membership, you will connect with powerful, heart-led souls who are rewriting their love story just like you. You are not alone. Come heal, rise, and dare to love again at start.loveagain.me. Welcome to Real Talk, Real Women, Breaking the Silence Around Abuse. I am Gemma Serenity Gorokov, your host, and today we have Diana Becker joining us. So Diana, please tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us what kind of abuse did you overcome in your life?
Thank you for having me, Gemma. So the abuse that I really had to overcome was what is now termed narcissistic behavior. Back then, 15, 20 years ago, most people were not talking about that. And it was mental, emotional abuse for me that I had to deal with. And I had to really overcome within myself to understand what was happening. I didn't understand what was happening. I thought I was actually going crazy. But after years and years of trying and coming forward and saying, I'm not happy, what is this, what's going on? And then I got into therapy and I started to realize, there's always two people in a situation that are sort of creating the situation, but I was doing the work and I was trying to tweeze out what my part was in it. And that's when I started to realize, like, this is abuse. This is someone who's belittling and the constant bombardment of, tearing away who I was as a person, as an adult, as a female. I came into the marriage owning a business. I sold that business. Like, slowly I was being stripped down to an unrecognizable person. Even physically, I was hunched over, I was sick, I had cysts across my entire chest. I was physically dying. I really was. And then emotional, it was because of the emotional trauma, for sure. Yeah.
That sounds pretty harsh. It is true that the effect on our bodies, our cells, our body carry the memory and keep the score. This is why one of the things that we want to always do is to release the pain in real time. And as soon as you receive it, okay, release, transform. But we are not taught to do that. We have to teach ourselves and really be open to discover that way of doing. When did you actually started to release all that pain so that you could start to heal? Because all those cysts around the chest, that is not good at all.
Yeah. And I was literally, if you had seen me, I was a shell of the person that I am today. And so I was going to a therapist who was becoming what's called a core energetics therapist. So that's body-oriented psychotherapy. So when you are working with a somatic practitioner, the body, they help you move your body, and they help you move the wounding and the trauma that's held on a cellular level. And she started to do that with me. And I remember she would work on my jaw, because I was always so clenched, right? I couldn't talk. I couldn't have my voice. So where does that energy go? You just go clench it, right? TMJ. I had neck pain. I had pain between my shoulders. My shoulders were rounded. So there's all these kinds of physical exercises that she was doing with me. And I remember she said to me, why don't you think about going to school to become a therapist? And I was like, well, I don't think I can, we don't have the money. He's not going to let me go, blah, blah, blah. And I remember I was cleaning the kitchen. I was emptying the dishwasher and I was physically putting the dishes away. And I'm speaking to my now ex-husband. And I said, I have to do something different or I'm going to die. And I literally heard, you have to do this. You have to go to school for core energetics. And I turned around and I said, I have to do this. And that was the moment where I was like, nope, no more. Like, I knew going down that road, he was either going to come with me and get healthy or we were going to go our separate ways. And I needed to get healthy mentally and physically at that point. So that's when I went to school for 5 years. And it's, you're learning, but you're also doing the work. You're going through, the work on really a weekly basis, and you're having sessions with other students at that time, and also the professors. And so all this stuff is getting stripped away. And that's when I started to get healthy again, physically healthy, and also, mentally back on my feet.
So that was the key moment. So just to clarify, you said your now ex-husband, you say that you have gone through all that healing and learning how to heal others. So that beautiful journey, about 5 years. And you also talk about all those cysts on your chest. What was the relationship with the person who mirrored you all this abuse? Was it a parent, a family member? Was it a significant other? Was it your husband? Who was it? I mean, I'm not asking for a name, but I'm asking for the relationship with the person. How close?
The person that helped me or the person that I was moving away from?
The person who hurt you or who made you hurt yourself through those cysts.
Well, that's an interesting question because, I'm sure you've heard of the 80-20 rule, right? So 20% of that, what was happening was in my marriage, right? But if I trace it back and I go back to my childhood wounding, there was a way in which I got the message that I wasn't enough. So, and that message could be real or perceived, right? As a human being, we don't have the consciousness when you're 3 years old or 4 years old to know what's actually happening. So my father was leaving on Sunday nights and coming back home on Friday nights, and he was working. He went away to work. But my interpretation of that was, he's leaving me. He's leaving me and I'm not enough. So there was a way in which I carried that. That's the 80%. That was where the initial wounding of abandonment came from. And that allowed me, or didn't allow me, that's a wrong word, that propelled me into a relationship with a man who was emotionally unavailable, who was verbally and emotionally abusive. And so because I didn't have enough inner strength and inner worthiness to know I deserve better.
I so much understand. My God. All right. The meaning we give as a child I'm tempted to say is never right. Sometimes it is, but is usually not a meaning that is serving us. At least that is the kind of stories that I'm hearing, because we also talk about abuse. And the number of time it all goes wrong because of a meaning we gave to one event or to a series of events. In your case, if daddy leaves on Monday, I'm not good enough to keep him home with me, looking at me, watching me grow, encourage me. I'm not his pearl. I'm not his ladybug. I'm not his special person. So why am I even here for? And just move on to like, okay, if I'm not good enough to keep my father in, I'm good enough for nobody, because there is only one person in the world, and only two people in the world as a child. It's dad and mom. It's like, this is the only, that's God and God. That's it. This is the only world, until we're able to actually grow and outgrow ourselves and discover that we are just a tiny little thing in this entire universe, and all those co-creations that happens in so different ways. That's pretty interesting. So, question for you. That key moment, you are still with your, at that time, husband. You are going through therapy of that core somatic therapy.
Yeah.
And now you actually feel in your core, exactly, that is right, in your core, that, whoa, that is me. I am supposed to be that. So let's make it happen. God creates a way because I don't know the way.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. And the thing is, you know, and we spoke about this earlier, universe, God, whatever you believe in, you know, that's really what kept me going, because I have such a connection to my source, my divine. And you know, I had four, I still have, but I was young. I had four children under the age of 10. And so it was like, where do I go? How do I do this? And so I kept going back to my higher self and really building that connection. So I had the strength to be able to do, you know, I took the four kids and I left that house. And things aligned up for me. I left with nothing, with our clothes. And, you know, I got furniture, and someone gave me this and someone gave me that. If someone offered to pay for my moving van, you know, like all of these things. And I do think, you know, that if you have resolve and you have commitment, you can make your life better. It's not an easy journey, and it's not an easy journey to be, you know, connected and to not do the norm. You like, the norm would be to stay and bear it, right, with four children. But I couldn't. I knew I physically couldn't do that.
And how long into your studies of that core therapy modality, how long into it were you when it shifted in your mind and you just said, okay, I'm out with, I take the children, I'm out. There is no relationship anymore. I have to find myself. I have to be myself, and I cannot be in that relationship anymore.
Yeah. That's a great question. It was 3 years into it, because let's see, I'm trying to gauge how old my children were. It was 3 years into it. You know, the first 2 years is really an unraveling of just really getting to know your own body, right? Because the basis of this work is, you know, what mask you wear, what do you present to the world, what's really there, right? Your higher self and your lower self. So, you know, I had to go through, like, I was just wearing a mask. Like, I'm a great housewife. I'm a happy mother. I'm a giver. I can take care of everybody. That was my love mask, right? The giver. And so once I started to realize that this love mask was really damaging to me and other people around me because it wasn't my authentic self, that's when the real essence of who I am came up, and I was able to then stand on my feet. So that was 3 years into it, I think, 3 years into it. It wasn't overnight, although this work does go quicker than just talk therapy. There was a lot to unravel for me.
That's amazing. So it was not a specific event that propelled you to change your life. It was really like a building up of new awareness and new getting to know you and figuring out, okay, I'm not at the right place.
You know, I think it was slower for me than one specific event. There is something so my ex used to say to me often, if this is your problem, no, if you're unhappy, you need to resolve it. This is your problem. And I do remember one time he said that to me, and I remember thinking, you're right. You know, you're right. This is my problem. I am going to resolve it. And that was, I remember waking up that next morning, put my feet on the ground, and I was like, I'm doing this. But it was, you know, it was so many little things that he said and did, and, you know, talking to friends and being in therapy. And it was a culmination for me because my kids were, I was so worried about my children. So worried that they weren't going to be okay, so worried that I couldn't provide for them. So I was kind of stuck because he wouldn't leave the house. And so, you know, that's an awful, awful feeling to feel stuck like that. And I just remember, like, I don't know how I'm going to do it. I'm just going to do it. And again, universe provided. When I did move, I got all that furniture. A friend of mine, you know, said, oh, I think so-and-so is looking for help, you know, at their school. And I went there and I got that job. I mean, it was all these things that just sort of lined up. But I think you have to make that decision first before God, universe provides like that.
I cannot agree more. You make the decision, you give the instruction, and a path appears. And it is not what you thought it could be.
Right.
It's okay. It's like you do everything. It has to work that way. Yeah. It will work, not that way.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
That's really cool. Wow, Diana, thank you for sharing that because I know how many people relate to your experience because without it being too much of a violent hardship, like really like fearing for your life all the time, it's really something that is nagging you from inside. Like you must change something. You cannot continue that way.
Yes.
When are you going to say yes to you? And by the same token, get all your children out with you, trusting, surrendering, knowing, like without a doubt, knowing it's going to be better elsewhere.
Right.
Let's go there because it's better. And you know it so much that it happens that way.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. I think when I left, my youngest was 2 years old. So, you know, gosh, it was such an amazing time, right? It was like this weight had been taken off of me, but it was super stressful too. Yeah. Oh, I think you're muted. You're muted. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that, Diana. Okay, so how are you making the world a better place now? How have you actually put that into a business, into support, into helping others?
So I do a few different things, but I am a core energetics practitioner. And I work with women who are recovering from heartbreak, divorce, trauma. I work with trauma for sure. I am just putting out a course on how to heal anxiety through holistic practices. But my baby, my amazing thing that I do that I love, I have a nonprofit called Start Over Girl. And I help women who are in domestic violence situations get out of their homes. You know, I provide clothing and I provide furniture when I can and diapers and whatever it is they need, but I also provide therapy. I do fundraising. I have other practitioners that are helping as well. So if I'm overwhelmed, I can also refer them out. I'm also a nutrition coach. I don't know if we've ever talked about that, but I have a degree in nutrition. So I help with that as well, because I think when you're going through all this trauma, right, you're not eating right, you're not sleeping right, you're definitely not exercising. So all of those things, when all of those things are right, it's easier to have resolve and say, I am gonna move, I am gonna do this. So I work with the whole picture. But I welcome clients. People can reach out to me at Center for Somatic Health and Wellness, or my find me on Facebook or Instagram under my name.
Perfect. That's amazing. We're, of course, going to put all the information in the description of this episode, making sure everybody can find you. That's also important. And thank you for doing that. That's an amazing way to giving back. What range of age are your children now?
My children are, so my oldest is 21. Then I have a 19-year-old girl. She's my only girl. And a 16-year-old and a 12-year-old. So yeah, lots of juggling. I'm very good at juggling.
Oh, okay. Congratulations on such an accomplishment. It's a long commitment to raise children and to raise yourself at the same time. We don't talk about that, but we do raise ourselves simultaneously.
This is true.
Same time.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Wow. Thank you, Diana. Thank you for sharing your story, sharing that line of hope, that direction, solutions, this nonprofit. I'm going to put it in big, bold everywhere.
Yeah.
It's important. Yes. And in what state are you located?
I'm in New Jersey.
New Jersey. Okay, great.
Yeah.
Jersey.
I do most of my work, my client work on via Zoom, but I help women in New York, New Jersey, if they need physical things like clothing and furniture and things like that.
All right. Thank you, Diana, again. And this is a beautiful thing to have you on the show today. Thank you so much.
It was so good to be with you. Take care.
Take care too.